should be a root and branch approach. Yeah, root and branch, because you can see that cocoa bodies at the time they were living was a crime scene. Because how do you issue LC for jute bags to the tune of $48 million at the time you are exiting, when you had a huge stock? Yes, that's what the previous MD did, right? $48 million when midnight contract, you've lost an election, exit honorably, yet you keep on issuing more contracts because of no curfew, probably, because otherwise it doesn't make sense. It's not as if the stock had dried up, they had huge stocks, and yet this MD would insist on issuing an LC at a point they were exiting. That's what I'm saying, midnight contract. So I'm happy that yesterday, I think in the news, they said the matter has been reported to the AG to see to investigations, right? So that we can hold them accountable. Kofi says we shouldn't, and there's an honorable appeal. When you say we shouldn't politicize this matter, I struggle to understand what you mean. How can you deal with this matter without politicization? It's politics, so you call it by its name. The moment you begin to look for euphemisms, etc., you are getting nowhere. A problem well diagnosed is half solved. Let's stop this thing. People dealt with that badly. We would mention their names. That is the name of the game. And they say that is because of mischief that everybody has a name. So if you've come and you are issuing a contract midnight for $48 million, what's the name of that MD? We would mention. Anybody who thinks that's politicization, that's that person's cup of tea. You can choose not to mention the person's name when it's your turn. But you can't sit here and say that it is politicization. What do you mean by it is politicization? You must, no, but before you prosecute, you must first beat the matter here. You have to beat and beat it here. Look, you would beat, yeah, so deal with it.
Let me listen to, gentlemen, please. No, please. Gentlemen, hold on. Dr. Tokono, please. Your microphone is off. Honorable Apia Kube. Thank you, gentlemen. Please, let I'll come to you. Okay. No. Council,
yeah, please. So the previous MD, is that Boakye Edu? Yes. Boakye Edu must be hauled. He must answer why he was doing midnight contract. If you lost an election, shamefully, go home. You were mismanaging, and yet that's the time you were issuing contract. That's the time you were issuing contract. So Boakye Edu, we will mention his name. If Kofi doesn't like it, well, that's his cup of tea. No, because we have to talk, because yes.
To raise this call to answer, but if you want the politics, since you brought
it will always be politics.
Okay, thank you.
Is dead. You cannot kill cocoa board and let the elite cocoa farmers, I know about 1,000 of them. Let them run it.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Gentlemen, as long as let sitting in air-conditioned offices run it from Accra. Go ahead and deal with him. Yes, I agree with you.
Hold on to that point.
So Boakye Edu, wherever you are today, we are mentioning your name here. You would have to answer for your 48 million LC when you had shamefully lost an election and you were asked to exit. You would answer. That's it. Now, go to number 2.
Yes.
You see, so as we're dealing with accountability, there's this point we must bring in as we go on. I hear people talking about, yes, we'll reform the management, etc. There's this interesting bit of cocoa board, the history. You know, at a point, Kwame Nkrumah wanted higher prices. You see the silos in Tema, etc.
Yeah.
Then he built them because he intended to hoard about 200,000 metric tons of cocoa. He wanted to manipulate the prices. The farmers were upset, and the World Bank, you know how these Bretton Woods institutions, the moment we want to get out of their control, they will find everything to come and criticize us. So the World Bank say, oh, no, it's not doable. Of course, is it any wonder that America sponsored Kwame Nkrumah's overthrow, then it left. So let's bring it in. So the matter of management, we've been trying. It's not as if we never tried. Kwame Nkrumah saw the problem, and he thought that, okay, if he can hoard cocoa, prices will go up. So he built silos. They said we spent about $8,500,000 building the silos. They became a white elephant, right? Yes, so let's learn from our history. So it's not just about changing management. It's also about prosecuting the offenders. So Boakye Edu must answer. Look, if appear could be your case is that Opuni's case must go back to court, why not? Of course. When someday you come back, criminal cases have no what expiry date. If you have evidence, because that's the name of the game. Because listen, before as Opuni's case was in court, etc., I know people who saw the dossier and said that Opuni's charges were politically motivated. And it wasn't long, we caught the Attorney General on tape confessing that Akufo Addo and Ofori Atta were on his neck, saying they should get Ato Forson jailed, etc. Okay, look at ACMS case. ACMS case, the same thing. Yes.
Okay.
So when you come, I'll be your cheerleader if only you have evidence. When you come back someday, if you have evidence, I'll be here to support you. That go back and arrest those people and go back to court. Right? Yes, that's for those that, there is a difference between withdrawal and nolli prosequi. Nolli prosequi, you can go back. But when you say withdrawal, they are taking carton. So I don't remember which ones are pure nolli prosequi and the other one. But granted that Opuni's own is one that is pure nolli prosequi, and so you can go back. If you have the evidence, go and let's see. Because I have seen credible people who saw the dossier and saw that this was just a witch hunt. Okay? So if you have evidence, when it's your turn, go back. But until then, today is Boakye Edu's head on the chopping board. Okay? Yes, we will mention it 1,000 times. That is how we will deal with it. Because if we don't start with the court of public opinion, how are we going to energize the politicians to take action? Otherwise, it will be you scratch my back, I scratch your back. So let's understand this. It's when the citizens understand what's gone wrong, then they show the furore, etc. Then it galvanizes the politicians to take action. So if you come and sit, you don't mention Akufo Addo's name, you don't mention Boakye Edu's name, you've said nothing.
Or even Bawumia. But
exactly.
Does the politician need any galvanization?
Yes, they do.
Why? If there is reason to prosecute or to investigate, go ahead and do it. I mean, why do I have to energize you?
Politicians have always needed galvanization. See, let's not make the mistake. Even when you read about democracy, even when you read about democracy from ancient Greece, societies have always been like this. A lot of the time, see, when you look at the political system, don't forget that the politician has certain interests. He wants to win. So he's looking to the populace. What concerns them most, generally. There are exceptions.
Right.
So he would attempt to answer the needs, the concerns of the populace. So when the populace bay for the blood of somebody who issued an LC for $48 million midnight when he was supposed to exit, that is what the politician will tackle, because in the scale of preference, the citizens are saying that prosecute Boakye Edu. That's what he will tackle. So if you sit here and they follow public opinion. It's all about public opinion. That's where the politicians usually derive their legitimacy from. So if public opinion is that Boakye Edu must be prosecuted, then that is what they will deal with. Because, you see, and let's not forget, democracy is crowd wisdom. We all know that our politicians don't know all of it. So that's how come they will listen to all these programs and see what the populace are saying. So if the populace say is Boakye Edu the one prosecuted today, that is what the politician will pay attention to. So if you come and sit here, you say, no, don't mention anybody's name, don't do this. You've said nothing. Effective communication. Anybody who thinks by mentioning somebody's name, it is defamation, he knows where to go. That's why the law courts are there. You see. So let's get on with it, okay?
Right.
Yeah. So the
sorry, please.
I hope I have a minute to run up. Yes. So the matter of the 333,000 metric tons that the previous government locked in at $2,600 per metric ton.
Yes.
It's a huge problem. So you see, like last week we had Randy Abe here. He came and explained that it's been an albatross on their neck. They will buy cocoa at over about 5,000, 6,000 per metric ton. Can you imagine? Who does that? It's as if we are washing our faces from the bottom. Yeah, who you knew? Go up. What kind of washing of face is this? Are you really washing your face? And we are quiet. No, so Boakye Edu must answer for that too as well. What kind of politics? Then you saw the projection he did, the expenditure income. Yeah. You see how they issued a lot of contracts for cocoa roads, well beyond budget. And today, Boakye Agyarko is working free. If I had the powers, I'm sure by now I would have held him and then started investigating him seriously. Why would you go well beyond budget? Everything well beyond budget. And today, you see, I'm coming to shift the blame, saying that go and take, what do you call it, a loan. They are looking to put pressure, just like the way they shamefully had to go back to the IMF. That's what they are looking to do.
But here's where the question about the silence comes in. So that these references you make and the books that Randy Abe showed us last week were there prior to this moment. Did we have to wait for this moment to be told the rot or the situation that was inherited as has been described?
No, I don't think we had to wait for this moment. And naturally, when they took over, this matter of the 48 million LC, the story came over about a year ago.
So what action had been taken until now?
That is where.
The action of investigating and then also the probe. That now the
so we've said it over and over that perhaps to make oral more effective, more efficient, we will need to recruit more investigators, more prosecutors. That one is very clear. You know, Dr. Ayeno is doing an excellent job, but it's also clear that the cases are too many. Because this $48 million, they say, if you Google it, you see that in 2025, the story broke. And we're upset. We're extremely upset, etc. But no investigations began. I can imagine, because there's a long line of cases. Even in the oral report, we had about 2,500 complaints, right? Of course, not all of them had enough facts to support. But the point is that even what we submitted under oral, we've not finished investigating those. So when you're adding more, so it's clear that, Dr. Ayeno, this morning, what we'll be begging for is that you need to ramp up your men. Yes, more recruitment, because when you increase the number of investigators, number of prosecutors, then we can get all these cases to court. Because the impunity is too much. The impunity is too much. When I listened to the NPP press conference, I was like, so you cause a problem, like what did they say to call you guys? That's a bed. It goes down the street. It goes to foil the water, and then comes to say, who foiled the water? You've caused a problem. Instead of it to come with a contrite heart, to be conciliatory in trying to solve the problem, now you are grandstanding. So I was like, Adam and the rest, are they really serious? Are we kids? So you think we didn't see through that when we voted you out? You see, give us a bit of respect. Credit her to some modicum of intelligence. We saw through all that. We saw that NPP was badly mismanaging this country. That's why we sacked you. So you don't gain any points when you've caused a problem and we are trying to fix it, and then you come and do grandstanding. You come with a conciliatory approach. You see, your tone is everything. You come, okay, first of all, you admit your own role in the mess. When you want us to listen to you, you first admit, the 333,000 metric tons were locked in at 2,500. It was a huge mistake. The moment Adam says such a thing, say, okay, hey, today you are being man enough. You are man enough to accept your mismanagement. They say, yes, but that notwithstanding, government is a continuum. We would help. This is how we think we should go about it. You come, you don't admit your own mismanagement, then you start doing grandstanding.
Well, they talked about, is it the same position you hold, Dr. Kabama?
Absolutely not. I mean, a complete deviation. Actually, the problem of Cocoa Board was President Akufo Addo becoming president and putting the kind of management.
How is that possible?
Yes, and I'm going to be very blunt on it because you see, it's not the institution and the framework that has been created to manage cocoa. It's the individuals who put in charge of cocoa the past 8 years. They have caused the mess, and we need to be very frank about it. You see, from 2017 to 2024, there was just a constant streak of losses that was made by Cocoa Board. And the losses was so huge that you couldn't imagine what was happening. And at the time, cocoa was doing well on the international market. So from 2021, let's say even from 2020, we made a loss of about 199 million Ghana cedis. The following year, 395 million Ghana cedi. The following year, 78 million. We went as high as 400 and something million Ghana cedis.
Wait.
Now,
what's the source of those?
No, this is cocoa board data. This is cocoa board data. So you can
the losses that cocoa board had been posting.
Yes. This is cocoa board data.
From which year exactly?
From 2021, 199 million cedis.
Okay. 2022,
395 million cedis. 78 million 2023. Then 275 million. Then 426 million. And so it's been constant streak. So you would recall that somewhere between the 2022-2023 season, when we did the cocoa bills restructuring and under the DDEP, and the payments for those bills that were due were moved from beyond 2024, 2025 to 2028. They came out and said that they've chunked a profit of about 2.3 billion. Yes. You remember that?
Yes.
And that was the only artificial calabule profit.
What do you mean?
That was announced at the time. And so that was the only time that they announced something different apart from losses. And so it's been constant mismanagement, constant underperformance in the past 8 years. And that is what has brought us this far. We lost, because of this mismanagement, we lost our cocoa syndication. We couldn't go to the market. It collapsed completely. And obviously that was what led to the restructuring in 2023. There were other issues that has to do with just over procuring things that were not needed. In fact, the last 8 years, the agronomic responsibility of cocoa board was completely ignored. You know, cocoa board has two responsibilities: the agronomic responsibility and the economic responsibility. So they are supposed to help the farmers to be more productive, to produce more, to be more efficient. In the last 8 years, the activities that we have done in the past to support the farmers, like the free fertilizer, the spraying exercise, and even the extension services that is offered to the farmer, was completely taken away. So you have the instance where cocoa board was spending all their money on needless procurement. And you heard Randy Abbey talk about the 26 billion, cocoa roads contract. That was not that alone. In fact, 4 days to elections, they were issuing LCs of about $48 million to buy cocoa sacks. Meanwhile, the cocoa sacks that were bought in 2021 are still in the stores. They have about 94,000 bales of the cocoa sacks of 2021 in the stores, some of which they used last year, 2024, 2025, 2026 season. And what is left can be used for 2026, 2027. Yet they issued LCs of 48 million to buy some bills. And the sad aspect is that the bills they imported in 2022, those they imported in 2023, and those they even imported early 2024 were not cleared from the port. And they are still at the port. And so you can't just understand what the Akufo Addo government and the management of cocoa board were doing in the last 8 years. It's unbelievable.
And that's the reason
decisions they made were so injurious, not only to the sector, but to the economy of Ghana.
You see, I asked you the source of it. Yeah, just quick one.
See,
yes.
When we politicize the cocoa board issue,
no, you see,
I beg you, 1 minute, 1 second. I beg you. I beg you.
Yes.
We will not solve the problem. Okay? Do you know what took Mr. Oponi to court? All right? And when you talk about the bills and jute and whatever, I agree with you, it's wrong. Do you know the government under which Ghana
if you agree with me, let me say it.
I beg you. I'm making my point. I'm saying I agree with you on the mess in cocoa board, but it didn't start in the 8 years. Ghana recorded its highest cocoa production under Akufo Addo. 2020-2021, over 1 million tons, the highest ever in our history.
And I'll tell you why.
Hold on. And the mess started way before even Mahama 1 government. Now, what we need to appreciate is that, look, we have a whole class of cocoa farmers who have what we call collateral economic effect on a nation. And we need to look at them as a special group. If there is going to be any welfare, we should target it at them. How many of us here didn't benefit from cocoa scholarships? The point is this: deal with the problems. I will agree with you if you find the people who imported those bills and lock them up. Yes. Okay? And the people who did fertilizer deals in the previous government and lock them up. But let's not make it a political thing. You knock it here and I knock it back. We should focus on cocoa board as a national issue and deal with it. Okay. Because so many people, millions with collateral economic effect, all right, are going to suffer because of some of these things.
And in fact, that probe that you talk about, the finance minister has indicated there is going to be. Good. That probe.
So, Alfred, if I can finish my
for
point.
those who have to answer questions to do so. No, I wanted to conclude because the Honorable and the Apiakubi will come to
Alfred, you see the reason why you can't do discussions on cocoa without bringing in politics or bringing in the politique and those elites who run government is that cocoa is a political matter that touches the lives of not only millions of farmers but the entire nation. And that is why I am not worried the NPP did the press conference they did last few days. But I am heavily worried because they had to say the things they said after the mismanagement and how they managed Cocoa Board in the past few years. I've had to bring all these things in because the opposition are speaking and they are making noise and they caused this mess. Look, the rollover contracts of the 333,000 cocoa that we had to supply. Are you aware that if we were selling that cocoa that we produced last year, we are going to make over $941 million US. That's almost $1 billion. $1 billion. And guess what? We had to sell that under the current price regime. They locked the contract in at $2,600. $2,600. When cocoa was selling at 10,000, and you displayed that. Cocoa was selling 10,000 on the spot market. In the futures market, $12,000 US. And they locked in a contract of 2,600. And you said this is not a political matter. This must not be discussed. This cannot be said. No, please, Kofi, let me learn, please.
Okay.
I mean, please allow me to make my analysis. I mean, you are not being fair to me. So these are issues that we have to talk about. And look, you cannot talk about the reforms and the resetting we are putting in place if you do not discuss this and let people appreciate what we are going through. These are very difficult times. And so last year, we have had to buy cocoa at the current prevailing price and sell it at $2,600. Those losses, who are going to pay for it? Almost $150 million US. Who is going to pay for it?
No, so what went to
beyond that?
You took that decision for a reason, okay? And why you are actually having to price, or we are pricing our cocoa beyond the world market price. The objective was one to tackle the matter of smuggling, is it not? So
no, it's a different matter. I'm talking about a completely different thing. The forward contract that was signed by the NPP signed the contract at $2,600. So you didn't have a choice. Now, the decisions we made on pricing last year was not only to deal with smuggling. We realized, in fact, this is the first time in the history of Ghana that we have changed cocoa pricing midstream within season. And we have done that 3 times. So we announced 3,225. I think that was 4th August. When we did that announcement, we realized that the exchange rate had depreciated a little bit from the 10.5 to $1 in August to about 11.5. And so we had to make that adjustment. Actually, the adjustment was made because the government wanted to be true and fair to the cocoa farmer.
Well, the
not because we wanted to deal with the issue of smuggling.
What I read was a direct quote from the finance minister's statement. He specifically indicated on Thursday that this change in prices within this short period that we saw was as a result of what was happening in Côte d'Ivoire. And so there had to be a quick increase to address the matter of smuggling. That is...
Yes, no, he said that. But you see, that dealt with the matter and helped us to rake in even more cocoa within the period. But I'm saying that it was not the only reason. We wanted to be true and fair. In fact, look, no government has been true and fair to the cocoa farmer like we have done in the past year. And we are doing so because we want the cocoa farmer to get the full benefit of what they are supposed to get. Indeed, until 2025, we were not paying more than 70% of the FOB price to any cocoa farmer. In 2024, when the NPP announced the 3,000 Ghana cedi per bag, they told us that they were paying 2,600, they were paying 3,000 because they want to do 76% of the cocoa price. At the time, they had signed a forward contract of about 3,200. And so the 3,200, when they sell it at 3,000 Ghana cedi per bag, they were doing 76% of that price. But the actual price on the international market was 9,600, which is the FOB price. And so when you are doing the analysis and you want to be fair to the people, you price according to the price on the international market, not the forward sales that you have locked in. And the difference is almost about $6,000. And you say that you are doing 76%. So actually, between 2003 and 2023 and 2024, you would realize that the government was paying only 25% of the FOB price. 25% of the FOB price. And so government is saying that, okay, look, the farmer must benefit from the atoll. And so the thing is trading on the international market. It's like selling maize at 700, and you have a maize, and you want to sell it at 800. It won't work. So if the international price, the FOB price is 5,000, 5,200, 5,800, let's make an adjustment so that constantly the farmer can get 70% of the returns. Indeed, at the current price, which you displayed, $3,700.
Yeah.
At the FOB price, yes, $3,700.
Yes, this is.
If you look at this value and the amount we are paying to the cocoa farmer, it is beyond 90%. And it has never been done in the history of Ghana. In fact, the 90% of FOB price that we are paying to the farmer is historic since the days of Tetekwashi. And so these are things that we must bring out, and together as a people, difficult times, we have to galvanize the farmers to understand the realities of what we are putting in, and the fact that even the prices that we have put out, even though it's a reduction of the previous year's own, it makes them even more profitable and better off than keeping the beans and the beans going bad.
But for you, cocoa farmers, and
for us as farmers,
you're a politician as well, just
economic
to do that.
We are interested in revenue from our labor. Yes. So when you are talking about figures, and you are saying that 2,700 or so, 2,500 is better than 3,100, nobody as a farmer will agree with you. But the problems of cocoa board is historic. So I don't agree with you that it started from 8 years ago. No. Well, there was a component called stabilization fund of all the calculations, and that was supposed to ensure that there is continuity and also value stability along the chain. From Nkrumah's time up to now, we were supposed to have built enough funding to be able to cushion up all these to avoid syndication and all that. So for me, the moment we started looking for funding to support the cocoa sector, I knew that the policy had failed, because from inception, and cocoa board is almost 80 years now, and 80 years of running an industry, we haven't been able to even build enough resources to be able to cushion the industry for even one season. By now, we should have a buffer of resources that could even cushion us for 10 seasons from 80 years. Yeah. And it is not all about mismanagement. It's also about government influence.
Exactly the point.
If you start from the First Republic down to the Fourth Republic, you see governments moving to cocoa board for funding to support budgets, national budgets. And that cannot be sustainable. Yeah. So anytime cocoa board gathers some funds to insulate the industry, government comes and does cool chop money. They pick it up. So we were teaching officials in cocoa board that if you aggregate, they will come and take. So you better not keep. And they started helping themselves with the funds that are supposed to insulate the industry against these fluctuations. So you see, the problems are multiple in cocoa board. But again, I don't want us to even bring politics into it. All governments have done that. All governments, from Nkrumah's time up to now, all governments, when they see that there's money in cocoa board, they go and pick it. And I think that is wrong. And that has deprived the industry of the insulation. So down the line, we must be thinking differently, because we cannot continue to do the same things, and we also cannot politicize it. My brother says it started 8 years ago. I totally disagree with him, because even when I was going to school, when I was going to school,
8 years.
Listen. When I was going to school, some of us, but for cocoa board scholarships, we couldn't have gone. But our fathers were cocoa farmers. So for me, even if I enjoyed it, I would say yes, from my father's labor. But there were people who were also benefiting, who were not anywhere close to cocoa or close to cocoa industry. And you see, how could we be spending money for people who didn't deserve? And in recent times, the cocoa roads, so much money going into cocoa roads when cocoa farmers are not paying.
I agree.
So why would you prioritize cocoa roads against paying for the beans? That will bring us the money.
Even helping the farmer.
You understand? And when you are talking even about support to farmers, and we think that is a windfall, it is not. It is part of our earnings. And again, there are so many people who are making astronomical profits from the support system.
Yes.
And these are all monies that
Cocoa board staff are richer than farmers.
Cocoa board, in fact, cocoa board suppliers are even richer than the farmers. You see, because when you are supplying, support services, and the support services make the industry even more expensive to operate in as farmers. You want to supply, say, insecticide, 5, 6, 7 times the price of insecticides supplied to cocoa board and onwardly to farmers. And we think that we have supplied farmers with inputs. No, the people who are benefiting from that procurement chain are rather the officials of cocoa board and the suppliers, not the farmers. So everything else in the cocoa industry is geared towards siphoning revenue from cocoa industry to people who are not even within the industry. So I think that if we want to solve the problems, we leave politics out. Cocoa farmers are not interested in politics.
I don't understand why you keep on saying leave politics out. You have set policy. It's the politicians that set the policy. They make the decisions and manage the institutions.
When you're talking, I was here.
It's a very effective assertion.
Hold on.
Fortunately, I don't think like you. And when I have the platform, I expect
very sorry. You are my one.
Okay, please.
So I am coming in as a cocoa farmer.
Okay.
And I'm telling you that cocoa farmers, we are not interested in the politics. We want to work and get paid appropriately. Now, Côte d'Ivoire, they're paying the same amount from the previous year. And then you come and tell us that because of world market fluctuations, it means our policy has failed. So you are explaining that to us. And now, the officials of Cocoa Board, they have not reduced their earnings. How could you reduce mine and you continue to? And some of them are even benefiting from increased, salaries and new cars. And we cannot get it. And you say that it is supported by policy. What kind of policy is that? So I'm saying, I'm talking as a cocoa farmer.
Okay.
We are interested in making sure that we stabilize our incomes. And it is not fair when next door they've been able to stabilize their incomes, and here we have to lose. And when we are losing, other people in the same industry are gaining. And you want cocoa farmers to applaud you? No, we won't.
Well, I would find out from you, Dr. Tukona, and that's why I bring in Mr. Jackson, as to why the option of a bailout wasn't taken. It's a question government has to answer. He will answer that. But then if you look at this, okay, the story should have been different, is it not? I mean, 65% combined strength in terms of the total cocoa production on the world market. But then again, we're having to grapple with all of these issues of how the impact of cocoa pricing on the world market would have on our local situation. That's why we're where we are.
You know, this 65%. The total global value for the cocoa market is $142 billion. And this 65% produced by Côte d'Ivoire and Ghana, the two countries are earning less than 2% of the total value of the cocoa market.
That's why the value addition is important, which is going to be the leg of our conversation. Mr. Jackson, please.
I mean, I've actually enjoyed listening to the conversations going on, and it will be interesting, Uncle Fi, to explore some of what you're saying. And I want to start with him. The truth of the matter is that Cocoa Board was set up, right, to provide forex to the country and to ensure ownership of cocoa to Ghana. Now, that role has always been there. And that's why each year it is Cocoa Board that the funds that come from Cocoa Board that determine what the value of the CD is. Yeah. Now, if we give that up, the danger here is that it's going to go to the foreigners.
Exactly.
No. That's why I said this will be a debate. And the challenge I have now is that we're about to enter 6th March. I'd like to pose a question. How much of Ghana's economy do we own? Yeah. And that's a whole debate we should have. The worry is that I do identify with you clearly. My position is that government institutions tend to destroy value over time. What has happened? Cocoa Board has destroyed value over time. To be fair, previously, when there's money, right, government step in and take the money. Yeah. The difficulty is that over the last 8 years, even when there was no money, government still took the money away. And so some part of what Dr. Otchere said has to be dealt with. Some of us started crying wolf about Cocoa Board years ago. 3-4 years ago, we were crying. Why should Cocoa Board employ 2,000 more people? Why should Cocoa Board be making the losses? Why is Cocoa Board not publishing its accounts? And we made these issues over and over again. Nobody listened. Yeah. Unfortunately, at this moment, we are caught between a rock and a hard place. What's the rock? Cocoa Board has been so badly mismanaged that it cannot continue as it is. Really. The hard place is that at the same time, the price of cocoa on the world market has fallen so badly that we now have to face the issue. But let's face the issue. Farmers have to understand that Cocoa Board is bankrupt. There's no money.
In the light of the
stabilization fund that was supposed to be created was not created. When we had a mechanism to ensure that farmers earn money by selling cocoa forward, so that when cocoa is sold forward, we can guarantee the prices for a period. You know what we did? When the price is here, we guarantee the price here. And then somewhere in the middle, I don't know.
Something goes somewhere.
I don't know. All I know is that some of the forward prices that were set, shameful. Why do we do this to ourselves?
Somebody's plan.
If somebody
leading them, they won't set that.
Hold on.
Right. I want to hear him. Yes.
So that mechanism, guess what? Go to Cote d'Ivoire. They made better use of the forward pricing. They made more aggressive use of the forward pricing in the last few years. What have we done to ourselves? So, unfortunately, right, nobody is going to be happy in this matter.
Especially the farmers.
Oh, the farmers, let me tell you the danger we face now. Because Cocoa Board is bankrupt, and let's face it, the economy itself, things are looking up, but there's still no cash. What does it mean? Farmers have to face the reality that that drop in price is going to hit them hard. Yes. And when you add that to the corruption around inputs, fertilizer, others, farmers are facing a tough time. Why? Input prices have remained the same.
Even higher.
Even gone higher. The cost of living has remained the same. Inflation may have come down, but cost of living hasn't gone down. Life is hard, but now it just doesn't get harder by the month as it used to. So what has happened to the farmer? The farmer is squeezed. When you add issues of galamsey, others, we are facing a situation where we could see a dramatic decline in the cocoa industry. Is that what we want as a nation? Some hard decisions have to be taken. And the sad thing is that however unpleasant the current situation is, seems to be an attempt to deal with it. But it is unpleasant. And some of the unintended consequences could see dramatic declines in cocoa because already there were challenges. And yet, let's be clear, nothing will change if Cocoa Board does not reform. Nothing will change if Cocoa Board does not reform. You see, the way Cocoa Board is set up now, it is inefficient, it is unproductive, it is throwing any definition of yes. And the truth of the matter is that unless we reform Cocoa Board, all that will happen is that the farmers will get less money. That hole will continue. I have a question. So we've moved the debt. We've moved the debt to the government. We've moved the debt to the Ministry of Finance. That's what we've done. Question: are we going to still do cocoa roads?
Well, the understanding that the finance minister gives is that this cocoa roads now is not going to be on the books of Cocoa Board.
No,
it will be
cocoa roads will not be on the books of Cocoa Board.
Away from it.
But are you going to move away completely
from it? And that's what
is Cocoa Board going to just stay within its original mandate and core mandate?
Correct.
The new cocoa bill is dealing with that.
How transparent are we going to see the pricing mechanisms that you're talking about? Because you see, in times past, we've seen that forward sales, etc., have been used in some manner that is hard to tell. Today, now you tell my brother here that you are going to index his price that he's going to receive to the pricing mechanism. Question is, how transparent is it going to be? Are we all going to see how we arrived at the mechanism? Are we all going to see what the price, the international price is, and how you arrived at it? If we don't have that transparency, it won't work.
Are we all going to work together and come to those?
It's not about, you see, somebody has to, you see, transparency,
anybody can sit anywhere and
work the figures.
Yes,
when we sold cocoa, when price of cocoa was upwards of 8,000, we sold forward at 2 something. Somebody worked the numbers and we didn't see it. We didn't hear of it.
And they are comfortable receiving.
I see.
When all the sole sourcing goes on in Cocoa Board, you see, unfortunately, Cocoa Board is a reflection of who we are as a country now and all the challenges we are facing. And sadly, as much as I see the role Cocoa Board is playing, I hold my head and I say, just maybe Uncle Kofi Bentil is right. Even though I don't like what he's saying, we've progressively watched everything go bad. How can you guarantee that Cocoa Board will remain transparent even for the next 5 years? I'm not talking about the next 3 years. The next 3 years, maybe there's a regime in power that seeks to change things. Some of the reforms we need are multi-regime and cross-party. And so I tell you what, today, this last week is a sad week.
Oh yes.
For cocoa, for cocoa farmers, and for the economy of Ghana. Right? And some of the, listen, cocoa directly affects 800,000 households. 800,000 households. I'm not talking 800,000 persons. I'm saying 800,000 households. How many people are in that household?
Times 4.
What for? When you go to the cocoa farms, it's now times 6. Ask him. They're not in Accra.
Please.
Thanks for watching. Like and share the video. You can also drop your comment. Please don't forget to subscribe. Click on the bell to turn on the notification.